Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Nicole Brock, and as many of you know, I am an administrative lead here in our gynecology department. I have been given the opportunity to present during the last 10 to 15 minutes of our leadership meeting to discuss a recent issue that occurred in our department that required us to make some ethical decisions. My hope with sharing this information is to make you aware of the day-to-day decisions we have to make as leaders here in the organization, and also sharing this information may be able to help you in the future should this situation occur in your department as well. Okay, so on this first slide, we're just going to take some time so I can give you a case overview of what exactly took place. So a transfer employee of mine requested a past due performance appraisal. When I received this request, I was taken back a little bit because she had just recently been transferred to me within the past 60 days. So I went and spoke with the previous supervisor and requested that she complete the performance appraisal, but she refused to, stating that HR never advised that she would have to complete it. So then at that point, I went to my supervisor, and my supervisor suggested backdating the documents to fix the oversight. So I also spoke with legal, and legal advised that it wasn't illegal. However, it still felt ethically wrong. This situation placed me in a difficult ethical dilemma. Although there may not be any legal consequences for changing the dates, doing so conflicts with transparency and personal integrity. So, after speaking with the previous supervisor, my supervisor, and then having an open discussion with legal, I still just did not feel moved to change the dates on the documents. So as a result of that, I returned back to my supervisor, and I had a discussion with him, and I made him aware that changing the documents made me feel uncomfortable. And then I suggested that I would like to consult with HR before proceeding. I believe in leading with integrity. I would not alter documents without official oversight. Addressing these issues transparently helps maintain trust and accountability. And luckily, my supervisor was very understanding and saw what type of position it kind of put me in if we were to alter these documents. Okay, so on this slide, I'm just going to take a little bit of time to just kind of further explain like my rationale for not wanting to alter the documents. Changing records to cover up a leadership failure isn't ethical leadership. It alters organizational trust and places all involved at risk. So additionally, ethical integrity must always outweigh organizational shortcuts. Changing the documents could raise red flags in the future audits. Also, altering the documents, though it's not illegal, it still feels deceptive. And then lastly, I believe it's our responsibility to protect the employee's rights and our own personal reputation. Although it may not seem like, a big deal, in the future as a professional, this could be looked at negatively. So you have to protect yourself as well. Okay, so next we're going to discuss what the next steps were. Like, what actions did I take after, finding this out, having the multiple conversations between my supervisor, the previous supervisor, legal, what actually came out of this. So I wanted to focus on a solution-oriented conversation. By including HR and legal, we reduce the liability and ensure ethical compliance across the whole board. So the way that we did this is that first we scheduled a joint meeting. Again, that included HR, legal, and my supervisor. Next, we clarified the goals. Correct the issue, not blame individuals, which I felt was very important because it really was unclear on where the disconnect happened with the appraisal not being done. So I am very solution guided, and I didn't want to place the blame on anybody. I just wanted to find a solution that was going to be able to resolve the issue and then also prevent it from happening in the future, which is actually the next step, which was propose policy improvements to avoid future occurrences of this same issue. And then lastly, it was very important that we documented the actions taken for transparency. So again, documenting what happened so then that way we can make sure that moving forward, this doesn't happen again. So you may have questions about like, how did I come to this ethical decision? And egalitarianism helped guide me to make this decision. It reminded me to treat everyone fairly and ensure everyone has the same opportunities for evaluation and recognition. The ethical framework for egalitarianism emphasizes fairness and equal treatment. The employees deserve the same evaluation opportunities as others. And then lastly, it supports decisions that do not penalize staff for leadership errors. So I thought that that was very important. And again, this framework really helped guide me and just reassure the decision that I was making. Okay, so on this slide, we're just going to briefly look at some options, some alternatives that were not selected for resolving this issue. So the first one is just ignoring the problem, which ignoring the problem would have just perpetuated poor leadership practices. And then the second option that was not chosen was changing the documents. And again, changing the documents would have just been dishonest and unethical. And then the last option that was not chosen was the silent compliance. So this wasn't chosen because it risks integrity and professional ethics. These options could damage morale, compliance, and even create future legal issues. Leadership should never prioritize convenience over ethics. So again, these were just some options that were not discussed that some leadership may have selected. And I just kind of wanted to give a brief overview of like why I did not choose them and why you should maybe think about not selecting them in the future as well. All right, so our presentation is almost at a close, but before we get to our conclusion, I do just want to address a couple lessons for healthcare leaders that you guys should be able to take with you. So the first one being that lead with integrity and transparency. Next, ethical leadership builds trust. Address system failures through collaboration. And last, protect both the employee welfare and the organizational credibility. This case reminds us that leadership isn't just about fixing problems, but it's also about fixing them the right way. All right, well, we have reached the end of our presentation for today. And to conclude, I just would like to highlight a few things that we discussed today. So the first one being that ethical leadership requires more than just following rules. It's really going to require you to analyze the, case or the issue that's presented in front of you, and then, collaborate and make an ethical decision on how you should move forward. Integrity, fairness, and accountability should guide our actions all day, every day. So no matter how you may personally feel about a situation, we just want to make sure that we are making decisions based off of integrity, fairness, and then also holding ourselves accountable as well. Consulting with HR and legal ensures actions are handled properly and are documented. So I highly, highly suggest that if you are ever placed in a situation where you're unsure or it's questioning your ethics or your integrity, that you definitely consult with HR and legal to make sure that you're protecting yourself, your department, and the organization. And then lastly, transparency is key to building lasting professional credibility. So again, we work in this amazing organization, but you never know what your future career holds for you. So you just want to make sure that when you are making these decisions, that you're considering the bigger picture and how making certain decisions may impact your reputation or your credibility in the future. It may not, always feel comfortable. It may be uncomfortable to speak up, but doing so protects you, the employee, and the organization. Ethics must come before convenience. So, I hope that you learned a lot today, and I hope that you will begin to incorporate this into your day-to-day leadership roles. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, I just thank you all for giving me this platform today to share this experience with you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.